Okay, in this video we're going to make it so that we can activate random pickups, but you have placed them in fixed locations. So to demonstrate it here, I have got 20 pickups just in a grid format, which these could be anywhere on your map, and I'm just going to make it so that a specified number of them activate while the others stay inactive, if that makes sense. Alright, so what we've got over here is we've got all our pickups. I've put them inside a group, so that's all our 20 pickups. They're all active at this stage, so they could, once again, you could place those wherever you wanted on the map, and this will still work. The location is not important. The next thing we got is I've created a game object called Pickup Activator, and I've attached a script to it called Pickup Activator. Name's not really important. Just need to make sure that you've got a game object in your world, and the script that does all the work for us is attached to that game object. So now if I open up the script, there's really nothing in it at this stage. So now we want to create a reference to all those pickups. I could go through creating a variable, so I could create a variable called game object. We'll just call it pickup 1. Yeah, and if I make that public, and then we've got 20 of them, so if I did it using this way, I would have to go through doing it this way, etc., all the way down to 20. And if I went back to Unity, you can see I can now go through with my pickups and one by one drag them into the space. Right. Now if I wanted to set these 3 to inactive, I could go pickup 1 dot set active bracket false. So I'll duplicate that line, and I'll make that 2, and I'll make that 3. If I save that now and go back to Unity, alright, you can see it's made those 3 inactive. So I could technically, in my code, go through all 20 and make all 20 inactive doing it that way. This is not the most efficient way, as you can imagine, because I'm going to have 20 lines of code up here and then 20 lines of the code up here, and those lines are basically duplicates of each other. And as I've said before, good code is dry code, DRY. Do not repeat yourself. So we want to limit repetition as much as possible. So to do that, the best way of achieving that is we're going to do an array. Okay, so I'll just demonstrate in Unity what an array is. So here we've got 3 variables. Then this is not an array, these are just 3 game object variables. Alright, and to access it I have to type in pickup 1, pickup 2, pickup 3, which is exactly what I've done here. Alright, I'm going to change this, and below there I'm going to make a new variable. Cool, it's going to be of type game object, but it's going to be an array. To do that, I put square bracket, and I'm going to call it pickups. Alright, if I go back to Unity now, you can see I've now got this thing here called pickups, and there's a size to it. So I'm just going to give it a size of 5, and I'm just going to drag in 5 of these. Okay, so I've dragged in the 5, and I'm going to go back to my script. I'm going to comment, or I might delete this code because we're not going to use it again. Alright, to deactivate those, I could quite easily go pickups 0 dot set active false, and I'll duplicate this line, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. If I go back to my code, you can see it's gone through and made those 5 inactive, which is good. However, we haven't achieved much. We've limited, so we can get rid of this for now. We've made this bit of the code more dry. We're not repeating ourselves, but this is still a lot of repetition. And if I wanted to then go through and make 8 of them inactive, I would then have to go through and duplicate this line again, change that to a 5, etc. Change it to a 5, etc., etc. Alright, so that's not the most efficient way. Let's go and try it a different way. We can use a for loop. Alright, so alright, and instead of 5 there, we're going to put an I. So remember how a for loop works. This should be nothing new to you. This goes through every time this will happen. this many times. So it starts at 0 and it goes through as long as it's less than 4. Okay, we should say less than 5 actually, because we want to go through 5 times, which basically means this piece of code is going to happen 5 times. All right, and every time it goes through, I will go up by this much. So I will be 0, I will be 1, I will 2, I equals 3, I equals 4. So if I run that code, it should be more or less exactly the same as what we had before. Cool. Those first 5 are turned off. All right, so we get in there. This is much more effective for turning them off. However, we've still got a bit of repetition action here, because we're going through, and if I wanted to do all 20 of them, I'd have to make this a 20, and then I would have to go through and drag in each individual one. That is not the most efficient way of doing things. So we're actually going to do this through code. So we're going to go back to here, and I'll just comment this out for now. All right, and we're going to use another new piece of code. I'm going to say pickups equal. All right, and we're going to try and find all the pickups in the room. So we're going to do a game object, because pickups is a game object. And how are we going to find them? What do all of these have in common? Well, there's the name, which we could search for the name, but it's slightly different because we've got the number beside it. But what they all do have in common is the tag. So lucky for us, there is a command, which is find game objects with tag. All right, and all we have to do in there is inside the quotes there, we put what we're actually searching for. It's not pickups, it's pickup. Okay. Now, if I go back to Unity and run my code, you'll see we've got our 20 pickups have been loaded in. I didn't have to manually drag them across. Yeah, that was all done by code. So it's in my start routine, which means it happens as soon as it wakes up, or as soon as it starts, sorry, and it automatically puts them into this array. So the array has been populated with that one line of code. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to turn them off. All right, because I want to turn them all off at the beginning and then just turn on a set amount. We're going to use a different sort of a loop this time that we haven't used before. It's called for each. All right, so what this does, I'll just type it out first, and then I'll explain how it works. All right, so what this is going to do is for each. So it goes through each element within pickups, and then puts it into this variable called pickup. So now we can use pickup as we would any normal variable. All right, so it's going to go through all that array of pickups, all 20 of them, and it's going to go one by one. It's going to take the first one out of there and put it into pickup, and then we can just use it as a normal normal variable and turn that pickup to false. So if I run the game now, all of them should disappear because I'm going through and I'm turning them all off. There we go, they've all turned off. Okay, so so now we're going to put this back alive. Okay, and I could do this piece of code and turn them to true, and that will, if I go back and push play, I should have 5. The first 5 should be active, and the other 15 will be inactive, which is exactly what we've got. Okay, we're getting there, but they're not random. So now we just want to make them random. Now we know how to create a random variable, hopefully. So I can just say random pickup equals random dot range. We say where we want to start, and we're going to we want to go through as many pickups as there are. So I'm just going to make it a bit more dynamic. Instead of hard coding in the word 20, because we could add more, I'm going to go pickups dot length, and inside here we're going to use that number. I'm just going to print out that number as well, just so that we can see what's going on. Alright, so if I go back to my code now, my game now, sorry, you can see that 5 are randomly turned on. If we go to the console, it's printed out which ones have been turned on. There is a problem with this code, and it might take a while to demonstrate. I'll just bump up the number. So we're going to go through 10. So we want to turn 10 on. Okay, so I'm going to push play. Alright, you can see here what the problem is. That 2 has actually been randomly generated twice, which means if I went through and counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I actually only have 9 that have been turned on, because what it's tried to do is it's tried to turn on number 2 twice, which is not ideal, because maybe your game has got a scoring system that when you pick up 10 you win, and in this model you're never going to get to 10. There's lots of different ways to fix this, but for our purposes I think the easiest way to do it is to put a little bit of logic in here to make sure whatever pickup is randomly generated is not already turned on. If it is already turned on, we're just going to generate another random number. The best way of achieving that is we're going to use a while loop. So it's another kind of loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at while pickups. So we're going to look at all the entire array. We're going to look at the one that has just been chosen, and we're going to set is it active. So that's active self. So we want to say while it is. So we say if it is already active, which is basically what that line is saying, then we want to generate another random number. And then that's the only change we need to do. So let's just hypothetically go through. It goes through and it's doing this 10 times, but we'll just look inside this control structure. Let's say the random number it generates is 3. First time it says, is 3 true? Well, no, because this is the first time through. So then it doesn't bother with this piece of code. It just goes straight down here and sets it to active. Next time through, it gets a 5. Is 5 true? No, because only 3 is true so far. So it skips this piece of code and goes down to here and sets 5 to true. Next time through, it generates a 3. Yeah, so it goes, is 3 true? Well, yes, it is. So then I'm going to run this piece of code. And so this piece of code generates a 5. It says, then it goes back up here and tries it again. Is 5 true? Well, yes, it is. So we'll try it again. And then it comes up with a 6. So it drops out of the loop and goes down here and turns 6 on. So at that stage, we've had 3, 5, and 6. So even though we've generated 3 and 5 already, they haven't been turned on again because it gets stuck in this while loop until it finds a one that is no longer true. So if we run that now, hopefully, unless I've made a mistake, that should solve our problem. Alright, so we should have 10 turned on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you look down here, there's no duplicate numbers. And that's that done. At this point I would tidy up and add some commenting.